we'll continue our study of the Chamaka Prashna. We have to take the fourth Anuvaka, Urchame. In Urchame, we have to take from Vibhuchame, Prabhuchame, Bahuchame, Bhuyaschame, Purnanchame, Purnataranchame, Kshiteschame, Kuyavaschame, Nanchame, Kshutchame, Vrigaschame, Yavaschame, Mashashchame, Tilaschame, Mudgaschame, Kalvaschame,
Gudhumaschame, Masurashchame,
Pringavaschame, Navaschame, Shyamakaschame, Nivaraschame. So that part we are going to look at. So the next seven we'll take in one punch. That is Vibhuchame, Prabhuchame, Bahuchame, Bhuyaschame, Purnanchame, Purnataranchame, Akshitischame. So there are three ways in which we can interpret these mantras. So first way, since the entire...
I think we should also do Krishischame.
Krishischame we covered last time, right? We have got to start with last seven words of the first half.
We started Sapitischame, Sabdischame.
Sagdischame, Sapitischame, Vrishtischame, we haven't covered that?
No,
Okay.
Krishischame.
Krishischame is just, let there be efficiency in tilling the land.
And then Vrishti is rainfall.
Rainfall. Vrishtischame. Jaitranchame, I have got to win in any of the projects that I undertake. So success in projects that I undertake. Audvidyancha. Oh, illa, ashdura hogilla innanu.
Yeah, because Prabhuchame comes after that.
Okay. Audvidyanchame, that means let there be lot of growth. So once it starts, let there be growth. How is it I missed all that? Sagdischame, Sapirischame we covered. Krishischame is let there be productive farming. Krishischame. Vrishtischame, let there be timely rains. Then Jaitranchame, let us have enough physical and mental prowess so that we can succeed in whatever we are doing. It's in one word in Sanskrit we can say Jaya Samarthya, ability to win. And then Raischame means let there be enormous wealth. These are all pretty straightforward words. Let there be enormous wealth. Rayaschame means let me have luxury goods worthy of royalty. So all Ethan Allen furniture and whatnot. I don't know, there may be something even higher than Ethan Allen. Ethan Allen also may be pretty much middle class. So something which is really royal. That's right. Pushtanchame, that means a healthy, strong, efficient, progressive, learned, cohesive family. All those epithets you can add for that family. Then Pushtischame is for myself a well-nourished body. So they are all pretty straightforward, and in fact in most of our Indian languages also the same words are used. But the next seven words are a little more interesting words, because Vibhuchame, Prabhuchame, Bahuchame, Bhuyaschame, Purnanchame, Purnataranchame, Akshitischame can be, this set of seven can be interpreted in three different ways. So in the context of food, all these food, so let us see the same thing can be applied for food also. That means Vibhuchame means a variety of food which is spread in all our arable lands. So you know how they rotate crops and then make sure that every so often you change crops and then new crops come up. And sometimes you will have a vast stretch of land where all kinds of crops are grown by one farmer. So let me have like that. And Prabhuchame means the grains that come out of my farms, let them be of very superior quality. And then the Bahuchame means let them come in plenty. Because sometimes gourmet food is grown, but it may be very small quantities. So, but now let me get in huge quantities. Bhuyaschame means let it be overflowing. Let the stock of food grains in my granary be overflowing, Bahuchame. And let it be full, Purnanchame. And let it actually become inexhaustible, Purna Taranchame. So as you go on taking it out, again new crops will come and then your granary will always be overflowing. And then Akshitishchame, and let such these states be in a perpetual manner. Not 1 year you have got a lot and another year there is going to be a drought. So that prayer. The same set of 7 can be applied to the body politic, also known as Rajyanga. So that means Vibhuchame. That means let in this country there be efficient ministers. No matter who the president is going to be, let us have at least good ministers in this country. And then Prabhuchame, let the leader, let the king, let the president be have real Atma Shakti. So it's very essential, because without Atma Shakti, especially a country like ours here, it cannot be run by a weak person. It cannot be run by a vulgar person either. So there must be a lot of Atma Shakti in a person. So let no names or
said you know who.
no names are spoken, but you know who. Then Bahuchame. And in this country, let there be a lot of well-wishers. See, because patriotism is a very important factor for the growth of any country. Because if we think of only ourselves, and if we think of only our house, our family, then what happens to the nation? And we forget that unless the nation is powerful, unless the nation is well built, we cannot be peaceful. And then in that context, we should be ready to sacrifice for the sake of the nation, even somebody from our own home. In fact, there is a very nice Sanskrit Subhashita which says that Kulasyarthe tyajed ekam. If one person is actually harmful for the stability of a family, you must throw that person out. Kulasyarthe tyajed ekam. Gramasyarthe tyajed kulam. For the sake of safety of a town, suppose there is a very negative person in a small village, that person can be a very bad influence on the youth and the young minds. So whatever the parents do, the children will only emulate their own peers. So how to make sure? We have to make sure and be watchful. If our children are in company of such wrong people, then we must cut off those wrong, very decisively you must cut off those wrong contacts. So that means kulasyarthe, gramasyarthe tyajet kulam. Rajyasyarthe tyajet gramam. Sometimes you have to yield a certain amount of territory so that everybody else will be peaceful. This has happened in every country. They give up a part of their territory. In India, particularly 62 war, they gave up a part of the territory so that the rest of the country is kept safe and the war doesn't go on endlessly. Atmarthe prithivim tyajet. So for the sake of self-realization, you must give up the whole world. So that is the spirit of our sages. And then all this is possible only when a nation has got a lot of well-wishers. Bahuchame. Bhuyaschame. Let our treasury be flush with wealth. And then Purnanchame. Not one part, some parts of the country. Let every part of the country be full. And then Purna Taranchame. Let the defense mechanism in this country be perfect. All the defense apparatus be the best in the world. Akshitishchame, let us have troops which can never be defeated. So this is a prayer for the nation. Same 7. The same 7 can also be interpreted in our spiritual growth. That is, we can see spiritual and philosophical concept. When we have good health, wealth, food, family, friends, all of these things we talked about, a body politic. So imagine in this country, for example, we are living in a safe environment, we are living in a good government, and there is good peace, and all of us are in reasonably good wealth, and all of us are in good health. There is no worry about food. In such a circumstance, what should a nation do? What should every member of the nation do? It is very easy if an individual who is very prosperous becomes lazy and all the time pleasure seeking and all the time happily resting. At that point of time, for the individual, it is adogati. Therefore, when we are in prosperity, we must work harder. So usually we misunderstand, okay, I will make so much money, I'll make this much of bank balance, and then I will retire and I will sit on the porch. So what happens? Their mortality is so bad, 2 to 3 years the person dies. If he has no project, no purpose in life. Same thing happens to a nation too. Because what happens to a nation? Because we are now considering individual, nation, and the philosophical. What happens to the nation? If a nation is very prosperous and then it becomes complacent, then we all know the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. In the Roman Empire, as soon as a tremendous amount of wealth flew into the Roman Empire, everybody became, that's why the new philosophy called the Epicurean philosophy came up. So someday we will study that in contrast to our Charvaka and other philosophy. I think I mentioned that when I was speaking on Charvaka philosophy. Lucretius and others were the pioneers in Western philosophical thinking on Epicureanism. So a nation also will collapse. So we are asking that when all the individuals now turn to these 7 aspects of individual spiritual growth, it will take care of the family, it will take care of the country. So spiritual living and spirituality is not something that is exclusive for a few people. It is not just an escape from dukkha, from sorrow and challenges, or it is not a hobby. So it becomes important for the individual, for the society. How? Because Vibhuhu, we must meditate on that all-pervading Brahman. Vibhu means Brahman. And that Vibhuhu, who is all-pervading Brahman, becomes Prabhuhu. That means he becomes an Ishvara, he becomes a Paramatma, he becomes the Saguna Brahman who is capable of removing our sorrow. And therefore we choose a Ishtadeva. Here when we say Vibhu Prabhuchame, we are choosing a personal deity in whom we constantly worship. And in this constant worship of the chosen deity, with a full consciousness that it is only a manifestation of the absolute Brahman, and we ourselves subject ourselves to a disciplined living, subject ourselves to disciplined contemplation. When we do that, it gives purpose for our existence. Otherwise, you imagine no other project can give you an ultimate, infinite purpose for our existence. Everything else falls short. And therefore, Bahuchame, whom am I worshipping? This Vibhu, who is all-pervading, who has become Prabhu, that is my Ishtadevata, my personal deity, is the one who has become many. Isn't it? There is only one, Ekam. That he said, Bahusyam Prajayeti. let me multiply myself. Little cross reference to Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 6.2.1. In 6.2.1 it says, Sadeva Saumya idamagra asit yekameva advitiyam tadaikshata bahusyam prajayeti. So he said that, O Saumya, Saumya is the way in which a person is addressed, O gentle one, in the beginning was the Supreme, who was the one without second. He thought, let me become many. So in this context, I, the one, should become many. That means I should see myself in my family as the many. I am my wife, I am my children, I am my parents, I am my neighbor, and then I am the part of everyone who is there. Then I am this country. If anybody in this country is hurt, affected, if there is a bad administration, then I must say it is I have failed somewhere. It is not that we can do anything about it, it's an awareness. So that one who became many, sa aikshata, he thought, Lokan, let me create all these things. He thought, now I shall create this world. So Vibhu becomes Prabhu, will become and then will become Vibhu will become Prabhu, and then will become Bhuyaha. And then this one is on the abundance of his grace is Bhuyaha. The abundant grace of Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, the abundant grace of Saguna Ishvara, and that which is Purnaha is infinite, is complete. Let it become Purnataraha for me. Purnataraha means what? If I say something is full, then also I am putting a note of finitude there. And therefore fuller than the fullest. This in the Upanishad also we have seen Anu, Radiyan, Mahato, Mahiyan. Suppose you say Anu, smallest of the smallest, then you must say smallest of the small also. Big means you have to say bigger than the biggest. The same spirit is used in the Veda also, because Veda is the origin of the Upanishadic thinking also. So Purnataraha, this Purnataraha must also be Akshitihi. When we read that stage, there should be no fall from there. And again, little out of scope in this study, but again Chandogya Upanishad will give us what is known as the Bhuma Vidya. There are stages by which you can go. You go to the limit of what insight you can get by using name. By taking a name, you can get some insight. For example, suppose I use the word which indicates a masculine gender. Then what is the limit of that name? The limit of that name is that it is the name of a man. Isn't it? So similarly, when whatever name you consider, you have got to meditate and go to the limit of what it means. So when you do that nama, the name, then you will slowly climb into the next step of contemplation called walk. Because now you can make a particular into general. So the way of making a particular nama or name into a generality is called walk. So from nama you go to walk, from walk you go to mind, manaha, from mind you go to what the mind determines called sankalpaha, which comes from the memory called chitta, and that is mind from your memory by means of meditation called dhyana, and then you process it by applying that into the world, and then you get into vijnana, and that becomes a food for your contemplation called anna, and then that flows from one teacher to a student, it's called apaha, which becomes shining called tejas, And then the whole thing will give a form called akara. Then you will be actually embedding it into the memory of the entire civilization, which is smara, and then which creates a desire for knowledge, a desire for upliftment in every one of the persons, called asha, and this becomes prana, and that prana becomes bhuma, or the infinite. So you will see a 15-step growth will take place. So that is also hinted at in this set of 7 mantras. So as I said, you can just look at it at the gross level, that it is all epithets of food, or you can take it at subtle level, a little subtler level, saying that I am thinking of the nation. So you are making the Virat Upasana, you are expanding your Upasana to include the entire fellow beings. Then you expand it to include the entire creation. Then you cross the boundaries of time and space. And it is 7, because 7 is a very, very significant number in our heritage. So these 7, all this is food only. Because one is food for the body as a nourishment, one is food for the mind, one is food for the soul. So therefore these 7 has to be looked at as food for the body, food for the mind, and food for the soul. And so this main Anuvaka also recognizes hunger and thirst. And it ennobles hunger and thirst from mere bodily need to a spiritual need. So what is the difference between gluttony and elegancy and elegance? The difference is with what spirit we look at food. All kinds of food. Food to eat, food to see, food to hear, food to taste, every one of them. So all this prayer has to be done by a human being only. Because what is special about human being? Because only the human species has to grow food, process food, and eat. Is there any other living species which needs to do all these things? And therefore the entire food is divided into 2 kinds, by which also we will see Krishtapachya and Akrishtapachya. Krishtapachyancha me, Krishtapachyancha me, Gramyascha me. We are going to see that in the Chamaka Prashna itself. Right? In the next one we are going to see Krishtapachya means food that is processed by agriculture. So where edible food is there for a given animal species, where it need not do any processing of agriculture, is called Akrishtapachya. So look at the glory of Ishvara. For the human being he gives intelligence, he gives knowledge, and then he gives him the ability to develop technology, and then he says you cannot consume and process food unless you actually do agriculture. So therefore we cannot do Akrishtapachya, and then where should we go from here? We should say that for the sake of growing this Krishtapachyam, I have got to have a Prithvi, an efficient field, an efficient arable land, Prithvi. I need Apaha, I need Tejas, I need Vayu, I need Akasha, I need the Devatas to give us timely rain, a Varuna, a Indra, and a Prithvi Devi to give Bhu Guna. And therefore you become actually a devotee. Now every time you pray. That is why I always recommend when you do Bhumi Puja, I always chant the Bhu Sukta. When you do Griha Pravesha, you do Vastu Homa. So why do we do all these things? It is because we have got to acknowledge that for a human being to exist, the ratio of effort the ratio of Manushya Prayatna, human effort, to Daiva Kripa or God's grace is 1:10. Our input is only 1. 9 other parts has to be given by Ishvara. So therefore, this Anuvaka is also Dhvani. Dhvani means the suggestion. The suggestion behind this Anuvaka is, unless we become a devotee of the Lord, even food will not be accessible to us. Well, with this, we come to the conclusion of, have we? No, we have got a few more, right?